coverage will begin here on WMMS. Tomorrow will also be the last day that you can save yourself 20% off at CLE Clothing Company with the word pumpkin. That's your promo code, 20% right off the top, whether you're in one of their stores looking around or whether you're online. They have a wide array of all kinds of things. They have a full line of Buzzard merch, which always goes very, very quickly. If you just want pieces of clothing with the word Cleveland on them, you're in luck. You want to hashtag let them know.
Let them know.
Oh, over there at CLE Clothing Co. Online. So tomorrow, last day to use pumpkin. You can do it today, of course. And then come Thursday, I'll have a new one for you. I should probably hit them up now. Say, hey, what's my December word going to be? By the way, speaking of Toronto, Toronto police arrested a guy that they think killed 2 women in 1983.
Jeez.
Long gone unsolved crime. Aaron Gilmore and Susan Tice. These were 2 women who were murdered months apart in 1983. But when DNA evidence got more prevalent, a lot of these guys, you don't even know DNA evidence is coming. You only know that in retrospect, right? You go, well, I had a good run until... Because when you stop and think about how many cases are solved when DNA becomes a thing, DNA evidence, rather. Before that, I don't know how anybody ever got pinched for murdering someone. You think, go all the way back to, let's say, the turn of the 19th century. Who was getting caught for murder? You'd stab someone in an alley, run away. You could be covered in blood. If you got home, they weren't going to find you.
Well, that's like when in England when they're like, Jack the Ripper killed 5 people. He's like the most tyrannical man of the, it was huge.
He was a surgeon.
Yeah.
So this has never been a cold case. They say that they've been investigating it since 1983. One woman was a 22-year-old fashion designer. She had been stabbed in her apartment, and her friend found her. And then another woman who was 45 had been stabbed months later in her apartment. They didn't know each other. And they think that they got the guy who did it. A guy named Joseph George Sutherland, who's now 61 years old. They picked him up, and he didn't protest. It's like when the cops show up to Newman's apartment. He goes, what took you so long?
Yeah, right.
What took you so long?
That's what I was going to say.
You'd be tired of running.
You think he's relieved a little bit? Where he's been living in hiding for this long?
But it's not like he fled to Argentina. He's been living in Toronto the whole time, or Yorkville, one of the neighborhoods there. And yeah, maybe.
It was like the jig is up, hands in the air. I lived a good 40 years under the radar,
If you're a single dude, I always think about the people who get away with something and then they go on to have families and their wife and their kids don't know that they murdered 2 people. Jay Leno, I mentioned yesterday, did a couple of shows. This guy's fresh out of the burn unit after one of his cars exploded on him or something. And he has a standing Sunday night gig at a club called the Comedy and Magic Club out in Hermosa Beach. And he did a couple of big shows.
To magic? So he could wear a half mask like Phantom of the
Phantom
Opera.
of the Opera? Well, they got him coming in, Bill, and I think he's already ripping you off. They got him walking into the club.
Never thought of myself as a roast comic. Hey!
Yeah, all right, man. Now, what you said he's going to be a roast comic? Yeah.
I pretty much said that's what he was saying, and then he actually did say that, so there you go.
He did say
I can predict a Jay Leno punchline. Not many people can do that.
The reporters, of course, TMZ and the like, were all staking out the club, waiting for him to get there.
Never thought of myself as a roast comic. Hey, thank you. We got 2 shows tonight, regular and extra crispy. Okay.
All right. There you
He's
go.
got a good humor.
Yes, of course. Regular and extra crispy. Right, but what's the regular show? The extra...
The left half.
The extra crispy part I get. What's the regular part?
I don't think you need to try and dissect that joke too much.
The
openers.
Right. If you listen to us on iHeartRadio, It's always easy to leave us messages there. People are telling me it's not working today. It kind of is and it isn't. Like it's kind of not working for me and kind of not working for you. And hopefully it'll work occasionally today there on the app.
Alan, baby. I was just listening to Rover's show earlier today on Monday, and he slipped out a phrase that Poundcake always happens to say. He slipped out in passing the vast minority. Hate the show.
That's actually a Mary Santora-ism. That's
that.
not. See, this is the problem. You got to give credit where it's due, and you can't expect the audience to remember chapter and verse what happens. But now we're in this part of the show where all of the goofy sayings are being attributed to Poundcake.
Mm-hmm.
So this is stolen valor.
I proudly take that one. And
Mary is the vast minority person around
because
these
it
parts.
makes sense. When you're in the 1%, that is a large minority.
And now Rover has absorbed it.
It makes
Where
sense.
he's thrown out
It's
vast
logical.
minority.
It's the vast minority of people. It makes so much sense.
It makes zero sense.
It makes every sense.
Nevertheless, people attribute every single malaprop now to Poundcake.
It's a vast minority of sense.
0.0.
Say again?
It's a vast minority of sense. That's how much it makes.
When you put it like that.
Did I just make it Poundcake?
No, it's fine. You do you, boo-boo.
Yeah, no, I don't say that. So no, that is
All
Mary
right.
Santora.
That's me. That's me. Thank you.
Alan, it's not like nobody had ever been arrested for murder before DNA. I'm fully aware of that. There were people in prison for murder. I get it. I'm just not sure how anybody got caught.
It was
Before
Columbo
that.
style. They had a hunch. They had just one more thing, and then
just one more thing.
And then they get them to confess. So you get people confessing. You catch people red-handed. There was still evidence that could link you to a crime. It was just a lot more difficult then.
Now I'm not talking.
Framing people.
But those kinds of things, and I'm not talking about people. Those kinds of things resulted in a lot of innocent people getting convicted.
That's what I'm
like
talking about.
eyewitness testimony and speculation, things like that, or circumstantial evidence. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like you killed somebody, you did it, you stabbed them a bunch of times or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when these guys like throw the gun in the river. I'm sure you're not in your right mind, whether it's a crime of passion or whatever. You know, we were talking to those guys yesterday, a couple of different guys who called in because they had done time in prison. Those kinds of guys were in there on like drug offenses and things like that. But it came from Poundcake's uncle, or it came from Poundcake going, what do you mean you don't have murderers in your family?
You don't have family in prison.
You don't have family in prison?
I think most people, I thought the vast majority of people had a
He's trying to take it from you. He's trying to make it his own.
He's using it wrong.
had family members incarcerated. Or have had ex-con family members. I thought that was like a thing. That's why holidays are so much fun, because you get your uncle you don't see all the time, and he's like, all right, I never want to go back. And he's just at the table all traumatized, eating his, ham or whatever. I thought that was like a thing.
It's some trauma ham right there.
Mm-hmm. It's the best kind.
It's delicious. It's marinated in tears.
I've had uncles that have gotten like DUIs and stuff, but
That's
nothing,
not the same. I'm talking about like locked
yeah,
up, won't let
nothing
me
locked
out,
up, yeah.
calling from the prison to send money like that, and that was like a bonding time. Like we would, when we were younger. My uncle was still in prison. When we were younger, it was like a family bonding time. We would all gather around the phone and be like, hey, and they say my uncle's name, and then we talk to him for maybe about 10, 15 minutes, and we'd update our entire lives in that 15 minutes. And then there's like, all right, insert more money. Like, nope, okay, we got to go by. And then we hang up.
Yeah, it was a fixed amount of time that you got to catch up on everything.
The whole family gathered around the phone.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't send any pictures. I still find that sketchy. So I'm glad people back me up on that.
No, listen, you made the point. You barely know this person. Why are you going to send them a photo?
Yeah. And
so they can do something salacious with it. Ooh.
I was going to say, and the fact that I found out what
They're
it
going
was.
to draw boobies on you or something.
I was like, it was drugs. I'm like, why? He could be sending the wrong impression. And he knows what I do for a living. So I'm like, I don't need that. If people want to see a picture of me, they can Google me. There's contraband in the prison.
Yes. Get that old high school picture of you with that dirt stash. Poundcake's Fisher-Price My First Mustache. That photo that will pop up occasionally on a Flashback Friday.
I thought I was like the most masculine thing out there.
Did you say masculine?
Masculine.
All right. I wanted you to say masculine.
No, I'm
All
trying
right.
to do better.
The Lord.
Except that I do say Lord.
Yes. I prayed to the Lord. I don't think Poundcake is biting Mary's style. That's Stephen Canton is accusing him of that. It's just that things are being attributed to him
that are not his.
That's right.
I don't even remember. Like, I didn't even remember Vast Minority.
I said it.
I remembered it as a Mary Santora production.
Well, because I came in bitching about something, and I was like, yeah.
But the thing
I
is,
was like, I'm in the. I don't feel like I'm in the, or I am in the vast minority here. I know I'm in the vast minority here. And Alan did his pardon me.
Okay. I was gonna say I didn't know if it was a big deal or we just went right past it because when I do it, it's a huge deal. But when I mess up, it's a whole segment or two. Everyone else is just like,
because you're such a good sport.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was a thing because he was mad at me for saying that. And he's like, no, the minority by definition cannot be vast. I'm like, yeah, it's so vast that there's only like 3 of us. He's like, are you listening to yourself? That's not how it works.
I know what you meant.
Yeah.
The point of communication is to make sure the other person knows what you mean.
Right.
Looks so fast.
Whoa, Black Betty, trauma ham, whoa. So, as far as people getting murdered, congratulations to the Toronto police up there and the families of those women who were killed 40 years ago. They allegedly finally got the guy. Now, from the people who brought you Poop Knife, namely us, I bring you this. People are going back and forth. They're very divided online today over whether or not your family has a puke bowl, whether your family has a vomit bowl. One specific bowl, I was completely ignorant to the Poop Knife. We talked about this a few years ago. Your family didn't have a poop knife, and I was like, I don't even know what that is. They sell them. I mean, there's like a company that makes them, probably not just one. But we started to hear from a lot. I don't know if any of us were familiar with the poop knife, but we had
Bill was.
Lot of listeners.
Well, I had heard of the poop knife, but I never had one until a listener made me one, which I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
And then
did he whittle it?
No, it was made
just
from
rusty garden shears.
Yeah. He like welded it and like it was like a whole thing.
Welded.
Yeah, it was crazy.
He was like
I still have
Vulcan.
it.
He was
It's
like
nuts.
Vulcan hammering out a.
Yeah.
He was smithing him a poop knife
It's like in Iron Man 1 when he's just like banging away.
in the cave.
Yeah.
Right.
But had used sticks and things like that at times to break up a large dump to make sure it would go down.
Well, there's a woman who tweeted, and I think she's an English woman, but there's a woman who tweeted that her children were horrified to learn that the puke bowl in her house is the same one that she uses for cake mix when she's making cakes.
You're gonna
And
clean
so
it.
this immediately divided the social media going public as to whether or not you're supposed to use separate bowls or whether it doesn't matter because, as Mary said, you clean it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And some people are just like, why wouldn't you just have a small trash can or something that, nothing that you're eventually ever going to have food or cook anything in?
That's how I feel. We always use trash cans, usually with a bag in it.
A bucket.
Walmart bags.
Yeah, bucket, something
We
that
had like
you're
a
never.
red bucket.
Yeah. It's not anything that's ever going to be used for anything that's going to go into your body.
I mean, it's not exactly a home puke bowl, but I can't help but remember our own Bam Bam Bill Squire on the way back from the Polar Blast one year.
Mm-hmm. Nope, not the Polar Blast.
Bar crawl.
Bar crawl. Akron bar crawl.
Oh, God. That
Akron Bar
legendary
Crawl, where he was in the back of the limousine, because we travel in style.
Puke bowling it
We're
up.
classy. No. Into a plastic grocery bag.
Oh, was it leaky?
No.
He was looping the handles over his ears
Like a feed bag.
like a feed bag, but in reverse.
That was a rough night.
That was a rough night. I think that was the night that you were like elbow deep in somebody's pants too, wasn't it?
No, never got
Oh.
into the pants. Brought some young ladies with me. Kind of got
These the
too
ones that I had to
drunk.
take home?
Yep.
all
That was the
over
same
him.
night?
Yep.
Oh. He slept in the bush.
I slept.
Not in the good one.
Slept on the tree lawn for a little bit, and then I went upstairs and slept in the office.
Yeah.
Until the next morning. Then I got a ride back to my place. Still didn't drive. I was still too drunk. And then, I mean, it feels like
He was still
Mary
hammered.
story.
He was still hammered the next morning.
Oh, yeah.
That's how.
That's the way to do
Yeah.
it.
Because that was right after I had done Nutrimost for the first time, and I was like pretty small, and it was
You
like,
hadn't drank in
This
a
was
I
Skinny
had
stretch?
Bill.
drank in like 60 days or something, and oh boy, I went a little
Hammer
too hard.
pants.
But
Yeah.
listen, anybody could do that. To me, the most fascinating part of this scenario is because we were sitting on like the long side benches of the limousine, and he was
in
on
a huge limousine.
No, well, I don't remember what it was, but I mean, we were on like, limousines have the back seat and then the long side seats. And we were sitting there, and we would occasionally look back at him, make sure he was okay, and he wasn't, And the most fascinating thing about it was that as he was occasionally vomiting into this bag, utterly silent. There was no.
for you.
I'm
there was
very
no,
accommodating.
It was utterly silent. So you would
Listen, I still wanted to see if I had a shot with this girl after this is all said and done. I did not, but
Maybe if I puke quiet or
Oh.
something, that's cute.
and maybe it'll kill the breath.
That's fun.
you know what though?
It was.
She was in
it was.
nursing school, so she really wasn't that bothered by it.
Oh, she was taking your vitals?
She'd
Yeah.
seen everything. She
Yeah.
had her finger on his wrist and checking it. But it just leaning there and just silently doing that like lurch
Yeah.
into the bag.
Not even a noise.
No noise.
Wow.
Not even a whisper of a vomit.
Gross.
I don't remember if there was a smell. I don't remember if there was a smell.
There was not a smell. No.
Now here's the mystery of all mysteries. What happened to that bag?
Oh, yeah.
Probably was next to you in the bush, and it just.
I probably threw it in the garbage can that is outside the front of the building.
Hopefully.
Yeah, no, there was not because we played that game in the car.
Is there a smell?
And we didn't have, it wasn't even a whiff of impropriety or vomit. Anyway, this woman, she utterly divided people over whether or not the vomit bowl in your house should be washed and reused for some kind of cooking
No.
situation. And a lot of people were like, why is this happening in a bowl and not a bucket? Like, why do you?
I don't think there's anything wrong with
There's been so little vomiting in my house that we don't have a contingency plan for that. My daughter has like a small plastic garbage can in her room for your usual everyday first grader refuse. And I imagine we would grab that and use it if she were in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
We haven't been in that kind of situation yet.
Well, just 2 weeks ago, Brian's daughter puked all over the floor. Just puked. She was complaining that her stomach hurt. I think I told the story right here. She was
Yeah.
complaining that her stomach hurt, and she didn't
It was
want
like
to go to
Parenthood with
gymnastics.
Steve Martin.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, you just want to go to your birthday party, but not gymnastics. You're not going to puke. And then she just stood up and puked everywhere. I was like, oh, just happens like that, huh?
Like a sprinkler.
We don't have a puke bowl, but we do have a bowl that we will like clean the fish's tank out in, like the rocks and stuff like that. And I have 100% washed that out and used it to cook. The first time I did it, Brian was like, I was making overnight oats, a big batch of overnight oats. He goes, that's the bowl I use to clean out the fish tank. And I go, yeah, but you wash it, right?
I washed it.
And he was like, yeah, but like it had fish rocks.
I
in
think
it.
it's more of a mental thing.
Well,
than
I was like,
anything
yeah,
else.
but if you're washing it, then what's the difference?
Your mother's in here with his cash. Would you like to leave a message? I see that she gets it.
If that's true, then you must know my mother's maiden name. What is it?
Is there a smell?
I've got to take a break. If you're on hold, I'll get you on the way back. 35192 if you want to send a text. Of course, you can listen anywhere.